Have you ever stood in your living room, surrounded by decades of things, and whispered to yourself, "Where do I even start?" That frozen moment, staring at drawers that barely close and closets that spill out, isn't about laziness. It's about fear. Fear that if you let go, you might lose part of yourself. Fear that your children will one day walk into this home and see only the mess, not the life you built. I remember visiting Mrs. Vivian, 73, who had just 48 hours before movers came. Her husband had passed years earlier, and the house had quietly turned into a museum of memories. I expected tears and defeat, but here's the twist. She didn't break down. She broke free. In 2 days, she cleared her entire home, and when the moving truck left, she told me she felt lighter than she had in 20 years. That's when I realized something no one says out loud. Clutter doesn't just take up space in your house. It takes up space in your mind, your energy, even your sense of control. And after 60, the unspoken fear is losing that control over our homes, our routines, and even how others remember us. This video is about 10 ruthless tricks that actually work for seniors. Not fluffy, not overwhelming. Clear steps that make it possible to reclaim space without regret. I've seen them work, I've used some myself, and I promise, they are easier than you think. And the last trick, number 10, isn't really about stuff at all. It's about you, your future, and the quiet peace you still deserve. Stay with me until the end, because that one might surprise you the most. Before we begin, I'd love to know, where are you watching from, and how has your relationship with your home been lately? We read every single comment, and your story might be just what someone else needs today. All right, let's begin. And we'll start with the rule that saved Vivian from paralysis, the triage rule. Habit 1, the triage rule. When you walk into a cluttered room, do you ever feel like every single item is demanding attention all at once? That's where the triage rule becomes your rescue. Just like doctors in an emergency room don't treat every patient with the same urgency, you don't need to give equal energy to every object. In just 15 minutes, you sort into 3 categories: can't live without, might need someday, and haven't touched in over a year. And here's the ruthless twist. Might need someday gets the same treatment as haven't touched. Because 9 times out of 10, someday is just fear in disguise. I remember Evelyn, 68, who had 3 full sets of china in her cabinets. She thought, what if the children come home? But in truth, she hadn't hosted more than 4 people in years. Using the triage method, she kept 1 small set she loved and donated the rest. Later, she said, "For the first time, I can breathe in my kitchen." For so many older women, the silent fear is that letting go means erasing security or memories. But in reality, keeping everything only fuels anxiety. You open a drawer and feel buried, not safe. I know, because I did the same until I realized those just-in-case items were chaining me, not protecting me. One senior told me, "I gave myself permission to be wrong about a few items instead of being trapped by everything." That line stuck with me. So maybe you start small, 1 drawer, 3 piles, no hesitation. You'll be surprised how freeing it feels. You can do this too. So when you're ready to move on, ask yourself, if clutter is sorted in minutes, what happens when you shrink the time for making decisions even further? That's where the next habit comes in. Habit 2, the 10-minute sprint. Do you ever begin cleaning full of motivation, only to give up halfway because it feels endless? The 10-minute sprint changes everything. Here's how it works. You set a timer for exactly 10 minutes, choose 1 tiny area, a drawer, a shelf, a single cabinet. You sort quickly, trust your gut, and when the timer rings, you stop, even if it's not perfect. It's short, focused, and doable. Mrs. Leon, 72, avoided her dresser for years because it felt like an impossible mountain. The first time she tried this sprint, she cleared expired medicine, broken pens, and old receipts in just 1 drawer. In 10 minutes, she filled a trash bag and laughed, "I didn't even break a sweat." The hidden fear for many seniors is, what if I don't have the energy to finish? That's why this habit works. You never face the dread of a marathon, only the relief of a small sprint. I used to think I needed a whole weekend to see progress. But when I tried short bursts, something shifted. 10 minutes felt manageable, even fun. And little by little, my home began to breathe again. A woman once told me, 10 minutes I can do. 10 hours, never again. That sums it up. So maybe tonight, pick one drawer, set your timer, and see how much lighter you feel. You can do this too. And as you get used to sprints, you'll notice something deeper. It's not just about speed, it's about how you see your belongings. Which leads us straight into the next trick. Habit 3, the stranger test. Have you ever wondered what a total stranger would think if they walked into your home and opened your closets? Would they understand why you've kept every item, or would they quietly shake their head? That's the power of the stranger test. The rule is simple. Pick up an object and ask yourself, would someone who doesn't know me see any reason to keep this? If the answer is no, it's time to let it go. I think of Mrs. Mai, 71, who had 23 photo albums stacked in her bedroom. Most of them were filled with blurry shots, duplicates, or people she couldn't even name anymore. When she asked, would a stranger understand why I've kept these? The answer was painful, but clear. She chose 3 albums that told her real story and donated the rest. That day she whispered to me, I finally feel my memories are in my heart, not trapped in boxes. That's the emotional punch of this test. It cuts through guilt and forces honesty. The hidden fear, of course, is that by letting go, we're erasing proof of who we were. But here's the truth. Clutter doesn't define your story, your life does. I once applied this test to my old teaching suits. Would a stranger think they belonged to a retired woman enjoying her garden and grandchildren? Number. They belonged to someone I had already outgrown. Letting them go wasn't losing myself. It was making space for who I am now. One woman told me, when I imagined a stranger sorting through my things, I realized half of it was nonsense. That line still makes me smile. Maybe tonight you try it. Pick one shelf and ask the stranger question. You can do this too. And once you see clearly through someone else's eyes, the next step is even more liberating. Learning what you could easily replace instead of clinging forever. Habit 4. The replacement reality check. How many times have you told yourself, I'll keep this, just in case I need it someday? That's where the replacement reality check comes in. With every item, you ask 3 brutal questions. If I needed this tomorrow, could I get another one? How much would it really cost? And in the last 5 years, have I used it at all? Take Mrs. Hoa, 75. Her garage was full of extra dining chairs just in case. But she hadn't hosted more than 4 guests in over a decade. When she did the math, renting chairs for one rare event would cost less than the stress of keeping them year after year. She laughed and said, I was paying with my peace of mind, not with money. That was her breakthrough. This touches a deeper fear many of us carry, that one day we'll be helpless, unable to replace what we gave away. But when we hold on to everything, the real cost is higher: cramped rooms, heavy cleaning, and a mind that never feels at rest. I faced this myself with a bread maker I'd used twice. Replacement cost? $20. Emotional cost of seeing it every day? Far greater. Letting it go was freedom, not loss. A senior once told me, most of what I was saving just in case, I never even remembered owning. That's the sting, but also the release. So perhaps you look around today. What item in your home could be replaced for under $20? Try letting it go, and notice how much lighter you feel. You can do this too. And when you start using logic instead of fear, you'll be ready for the next habit, the one that shifts how much emotional energy you invest in every single thing. Habit 5. The energy investment scale. Do you ever feel drained just by looking at your closet or a cluttered drawer, like the decision itself is heavier than the object? That's where the energy investment scale comes in. Instead of treating every single item like it deserves hours of thought, you quickly rank it from 1 to 10. Level 1, it doesn't deserve your energy. Straight to donation or trash. Level 10, it's precious, it stays, and you give it proper care. Everything in between gets the attention it truly deserves. No more, no less. I'll never forget Mrs. Lan, 73, who nearly cried over a pile of old recipe clippings. She said, I spent more time worrying about these scraps of paper than enjoying the meals I actually cook. When she tried the energy scale, those clippings rated a 1. Gone in a heartbeat. But her grandmother's handwritten cookbook? That was a 9. She carefully preserved it in a binder, and it became her kitchen treasure. That's the emotional release, knowing not everything deserves equal weight. The hidden fear for many of us is that letting something go means dishonoring the past. But the truth is, our energy is the most precious resource we have now. Spending it wisely is not neglect, it's respect for the years we still get to live. I once did this myself with my closet. Old jackets I hadn't worn in 10 years were rated a 2. Out they went. The 2 dresses that still made me feel alive and confident? A perfect 10. I realized then that the real clutter wasn't the clothes, it was the emotional energy I wasted on them. One woman told me, "I didn't know how heavy my home felt until I stopped giving my energy to things that didn't matter." That's the breakthrough. Maybe try it tonight. Pick a drawer, assign each item a quick score, and see how fast the weight lifts. You can do this too. And once you stop wasting energy on the past, you'll have the courage to ask a powerful new question. Does this item serve the person I am becoming? Habit 6. The future self-test. Have you ever opened a drawer and realized half of what's inside belongs to the person you used to be, not the person you are today? The future self-test helps with that. With every item, ask, does this serve the life I want to live now, or is it anchoring me to a past that's already complete? I think of Miss Thuy, 76, who had racks of formal business suits from her teaching career. They represented decades of respect and authority. But when she asked herself if her future self, a woman who paints, gardens, and hosts her grandchildren, needed those suits, the answer was gentle but firm: number. She donated most of them to a nonprofit helping young professionals. She said through tears, "I thought I was losing my identity, but I was really making room for who I'm becoming." That's the emotional punch. The quiet fear beneath it is this: if I let go, will I vanish too? But the twist is liberating. Decluttering for your future self doesn't erase your story. It honors it by giving it a natural ending. I felt this myself when I gave away stacks of career books. They were my past victories, but not my future passions. Releasing them allowed me to bring in books about travel, health, and art, things that actually light me up now. A senior once shared with me, "I finally realized my home should look like my tomorrow, not my yesterday." That line has stayed with me for years, and maybe tonight you look at just one item and ask, does this belong to the me I'm still growing into? You can do this too. And when you start shaping your home around your future self, you'll also discover how to release with gratitude instead of guilt. That's what the next habit is all about. Habit 7. The completion ceremony. Have you ever found yourself sneaking sentimental items into trash bags only to pull them back out later with guilt? That's where the completion ceremony changes everything. Instead of discarding in shame, you pause to thank the item, acknowledge the role it played, and then let it go with dignity. It's not about clutter, it's about closure. I remember Mrs. Hoa, 74, who struggled with boxes of her late husband's old shirts. She couldn't bear to toss them, but keeping them trapped her in sorrow. Together we held a small ceremony. She touched each shirt, whispered one happy memory, and then folded it for donation. She told me later, "I thought I was losing him, but I realized I was carrying him in my heart, not in my closet." That's the release these ceremonies give. The quiet fear many have is, if I let it go, I erase the memory. But in truth, memories don't live in fabric or objects. They live in us. When I did this with my father's old books, I kept just one, the one that still smelled like his study. The rest I released, and I felt lighter, not lonelier. One senior shared, "When I thanked my possessions before letting them go, I stopped feeling guilty and started feeling grateful." That's the difference a ritual makes. You can do this too. Start with one item tonight. Say thank you, breathe, and let it go. And once you feel that peace, you'll be ready for a more active, ongoing strategy, the kind that keeps your whole home from slipping back into chaos. Habit 8. The ruthless room rotation. Do you ever feel like clutter creeps back in the moment you finish decluttering one room? That's why seniors swear by the ruthless room rotation. Instead of waiting for clutter to pile up, they cycle through every room once a month, giving each space a short but uncompromising review. No mercy for items that snuck back in. Take Mrs. Ann, 71. She told me, I used to deep clean once a year, but by then, the house felt like it owned me. When she began rotating, one week the kitchen, next week the bedroom, she never felt buried again. Each session took less than 20 minutes, but the results stacked up. Over time, she realized clutter had no chance to regain control. The hidden fear for many is losing ground, like the home will swallow them again. But the twist is, rotation isn't about endless work. It's about maintenance, small doses that prevent relapse. I've done it myself. My office desk used to spiral out of control. Now, every third Friday, I give it a ruthless sweep. Old papers out, only essentials left. It feels like hitting reset on my environment, and honestly, on my mind too. One gentleman told me, "This monthly sweep is like visiting the dentist. Small checkups prevent big pain later." He's right, you can do this too. Choose a day, pick one room, and give it a ruthless rotation, then move to the next space next week. And here's the best part. When you combine rituals of release with consistent rotations, you begin to reclaim not just your home, but your sense of calm. And the next habit will show you how to push that even deeper, into places you may not have looked in years. Habit 9. The no rescue rule. Do you ever find yourself pulling things back out of the donation bag, whispering, "Maybe I'll need this someday"? That's where the no rescue rule steps in. Once something leaves your shelf and goes into the box, it does not come back. This is the line in the sand that prevents backsliding. I remember Mrs. Lan, 72, who had struggled for years with boxes of her children's old toys. Each time she packed them for donation, she found herself rescuing a doll or puzzle, just in case a grandchild might want it. The clutter never left. Then one day she set a new rule. No rescue, no exceptions. She sealed the box and walked it straight to her car. She told me afterward, "I thought I'd feel regret. Instead, I felt free." The hidden fear many of us carry is, what if I make a mistake? But the truth is, 95% of the things we rescue end up back in storage, unused, still haunting us. I once rescued an old jacket 3 times before admitting I didn't even like wearing it. The rule is harsh, but it's also kind. It protects us from our weaker moments. A senior told me, I wasted more energy second-guessing than actually cleaning. The no rescue rule saved my sanity. You can do this too. Next time you fill a donation bag, tie it shut, put it by the door, and promise yourself, no peeking. You'll be amazed at how strong you feel the next morning. And speaking of mornings, the next habit will show you how to reset your whole home before the day even begins. Habit 10. The morning reset. What if every day started in a home that already felt light, clean, and welcoming? That's the promise of the morning reset. It's not a long routine, just a few simple actions right after waking that give your space a fresh beginning. Mrs. Hyen, 68, practices it daily. She opens one window to let fresh air in, folds the blanket she just used, and clears the kitchen counter before making her tea. She laughs. It takes me less than 10 minutes, but the whole house feels like it smiles back at me. The quiet fear for many seniors is waking into chaos. Yesterday's dishes, mail piled on the table, clothes draped on chairs. It sends a message of being behind before the day even starts. But the twist is this. Resetting in the morning doesn't drain your energy. It gives it back. When I began my own morning reset, I noticed I stopped feeling guilty throughout the day. My home stayed ahead of me, not the other way around. One elderly gentleman told me, "The reset gives me dignity. I may not control my health like I used to, but I can still control how my home greets me each day." You can do this too. Tomorrow, pick 3 things only. Open air, clear one surface, put one item back. That's your reset. Small, doable, powerful. And once you feel that morning clarity, you'll see why these 10 ruthless tricks aren't just about decluttering. They're about taking back control of your life, one room and one day at a time. Doesn't it feel lighter already, even in your imagination? Just by picturing yourself letting go, you can sense that quiet relief moving through your chest. We've walked through 10 ruthless tricks today, tough on clutter but gentle and kind to your heart. From triage to the no rescue rule, each step wasn't about harshness, but about giving yourself back space, dignity, and calm. Do you remember Vivian's story? Her house, once weighed down by decades of memories, stood empty after 48 hours. And yet, it didn't feel like loss. It felt like freedom. Her laughter echoed louder in those bare rooms than it ever had in the crowded ones. That's the secret. You don't lose yourself when you let go. You find yourself again. Because clutter doesn't just steal your shelves and drawers. It steals your peace of mind, your energy, your spirit. When you reclaim your space, you also reclaim your life. I'll admit something personal. I once thought I was too old to change, too set in my ways. But then I realized, space has no age limit. It's never too late to make room for who you are becoming. As one wise senior told me, clear space, clear heart. I've carried those words ever since. So now, let me ask you, which trick will you start with today? Share it below. Your story may be exactly what someone else needs to hear to take their own first step. We read every single comment, and every voice matters here. And as we close, let me whisper this. Be kind to your space, and even kinder to yourself. That kindness is where real freedom begins.